Ben McKee and West Rucker Go Vols 24/7 here at Lindsey Nelson Stadium following Tennessee's first midweek game of the season. A midweek game that was it dealt Tennessee a little bit of adversity, but you would not know it if you only looked at the box score because Tennessee won 29-4, tied the record under the Tony Vitello era for most runs in a game. They scored 29 as well against Iona a couple of seasons ago. Dalton Bargo was my MVP of the game. I think he was everybody's MVP when you hit 2 home runs in 1 inning, and one of them's a grand slam. So the offense got going once Bargo got going, but nice to see Tennessee face a little adversity early on this season.
Yeah, in these games, it's really cold, and everybody gets excited to play Tennessee. And UNC Asheville is a decent program that has a couple good players. And when that 3-run home run went out of the yard, I mean that dugout exploded. Like, those guys were fired up, and it was like, okay, like, strap up a little bit, game on. And but then it really wasn't, because Tennessee just kind of came back. And the problem is you have to get really excited and really dialed in to play Tennessee. But sometimes when you do that, you poke the bear and then make it worse. And Tennessee's just, they like machine-like precision, just taking them apart.
Yeah, and Dalton Bargo, I mean, he didn't really need to poke that bear today. I think he was already poked with how his opening weekend went. He started on Friday, if I remember correctly, and then did not start on Saturday and Sunday. Went 0 for 5, did not have his best weekend, and boy, did he respond in a terrific way with that second inning that he had. The 2 home runs that I mentioned, Tennessee scored 9 runs, I believe it was, in that inning, and first pitch of the inning, he just turned it around to the right center gap. The grand slam was just absolutely crushed, 428 feet or so, just plumb over the batter's eye. I mean, he looked phenomenal.
Yeah, he did. And, Curley had a really good day too. But Bargo, you expect that from Curley. Bargo's a guy who we talked about on the podcast. I mean, this is a guy who, one of the veterans on this team, who really needed to get going because it's so early in the season. But these freshmen can really play. They can really, really play. And so you wonder, is he going to press? Does he need to press more, press less? Everybody's different. He just needed to get results. And he went out there today and he got results. And for him, I mean, it's kind of like maybe Cannon Peebles was in the opening weekend. Just get a good start. Now you can take a breath. Yep. Now you can get going, and now you can see what he can do.
Yeah, you mentioned the balls that Dean hit. He hit 2 home runs today. He's now got 3 on the season in 4 games. Gavin Keelan had a very impressive swing as well, and I was very impressed with the adjustments that he made within his at-bat. I did not get to see a replay, and we don't have a great angle of pitches.
Can't see the zone.
Can't tell really what pitches are being thrown unless you kind of gauge the mileage of the pitch. And it looked like he got fooled on 2 changeups with a couple of his swings there. And then it looked like on the replay that I saw on social media that the pitcher tried to sneak another changeup in there on the inside corner of the plate, and he just turned on it and blasted it over the right field scoreboard. I mean, that was an impressive home run.
Yeah, it was either some sort of a pretty good changeup or a pretty bad curveball, but whatever it was he fooled him on a couple of them. And then you go to the well too many times. I mean, it's these guys have professional at bats. I mean, it's one thing to sit here and say, yeah, you just swing at the good pitches and you don't swing at the bad pitches, but it's below freezing. Everyone's cold. The score's getting out of hand a little bit. They just kept forcing you to throw pitches. Like, they're not going to extend their zone. They're going to learn during at bats. They file it away. They get professional at bats put together. Curley's was an unbelievable at bat. He hit his homer on. Keelan's was too. And they're young guys, but people say all the time, like, SEC baseball is kind of like almost AA baseball now. It really is. These guys are professional hitters. Josh Elander, Vitello, give all those guys credit for what they've built here. These guys are just they're a menace. They're an absolute menace at the plate.
They are. Jay Abernathy was also a menace. I like Tony's comment about, well, everybody made a big deal about him not starting, so we decided to start him out in left field, and didn't get a ton of pitches to hit. He did have a single at the end of the game, but 4 walks I believe he finished with, maybe 5, but finished with 4 stolen bases as well. I mean, he's a spark plug when he's in there.
Yeah, and we've seen this in the SEC, right? Certainly the biggest example was probably Bradfield Jr. at Vanderbilt, and then Tennessee had a smaller version of it with Seth Stevenson. When he would get on base and do some stuff, he hit the ball over the wall some too. But, the guys like that, they just put pressure on you. And most college baseball teams, the best will handle it. But if you're anything but the best, you just crumble in that situation because those guys, they bother the pitcher, they bother the catcher, they bother everybody all the time because even when they step to the plate, you're worried if I let him on first base, it's a triple, basically, is what it is. And you saw that. He gets a walk, very next pitch, steals second. Very next pitch, steals third. Catcher's rushing the throw, sails into the left field. He scores. And that's what they do. They just, pressure burst pipes. And that's what he's the kind of guy who does that. I love him as a player.
Brendan Arvidsson, he looked good in the first inning, did give up a one-out single, but then bounced back with, I believe, back-to-back strikeouts to get out of the inning. That first inning seems like an eternity ago at this point. Second inning, ran into some trouble, leadoff walk, double, and then welcome to Lindsey Nelson Stadium with that opposite field.
The Notre Dame
home
one
run.
a few years ago is what it looked like.
And that one was to a catcher hitting at the bottom of the lineup today as well. So you see the ceiling, the potential, but you also see that consistency is what he is aiming for. Of course, every player is working on being consistent, but it is really a point of emphasis for Brendan Arvidsson right now.
Yeah, you can see the ability. It's abundantly clear, like with Matthew Dallas last season, who's now at Wake Forest and got off to a good start last week. But when you see a lefty like that, who's got that kind of stuff, you get excited because he is a really, really, really nice arm. And he's already throwing the velo's already pretty good, and it's going to get warmer. He's a Texas kid. It's going to get even bigger. And it's going to come down to conviction, I think, with him. Conviction and confidence. Because if he just throws the ball, it's a nice arm. And the results will come. I don't know when. The sooner the better. But he's a really, really big arm. You can see why everybody wanted him.
Yeah, and you saw a couple of other freshmen get in there, most notably Nick Abraham, Braden Krenzel, two of Tennessee's better pitching prospects in its freshman class. A lot of talk about the freshman hitters right now, and then you hear talk about Tegan Coons, and rightfully so. But it's not only Tegan Coons. That freshman pitching class is really, really strong as well. It's a little banged up right now and will be throughout this season. But Nick Abraham and Braden Krenzel, I don't know that they're going to earn a lot of innings, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them get thrown into an SEC game at some point, and they looked good in their first college outings today.
Yeah, they did, and Krenzel, you can just kind of tell. I mean, his dad was a big-time athlete at Ohio State, a quarterback, and we talk about Nepo babies all the time, but in sports that can be a good thing because they grow up around professional mindsets and they just have a way of being comfortable and confident in those moments. And they have, Vitella calls it savvy, whatever it is, it's a baseball or sports intelligence. They just don't get sped up, and that was good because he gave up a single and then just really quickly kind of worked around it, made a nice play on the mound defensively. I like him, and I also liked, I'm going to tell you right now, I liked Wiggins and I liked Sharp too. Those two guys came in, they're I believe sophomores maybe, or redshirt freshmen for Sharp, and Wiggins is a sophomore. He was the closer at Weatherford last season. Mm-hmm. He's got some good stuff, and Sharp is a lefty. You can tell why they like him as a two-way guy because he throws a nice ball there from the left side. So I like the options they have on the mound. They want to get those young kids healthy, and get Russell back, obviously. But, man, then they got a lot of arms. They
do. It's just a matter of a lot of guys adjusting to their new roles and to a new level of baseball, new schools. Nate Snead and Dylan Loy and Andrew Binky are really the only three in familiar roles from last season. So certainly a lot of talent there. And I was going to mention Tanner Wiggins and Sharp on the way out the door. And I say that to say that I was not leaving them out on purpose earlier because I was just as impressed with them. Frank Anderson certainly has a lot of options this season, which I know he is enjoying. We'll see what Tennessee baseball looks like this weekend. We're supposed to get snow in the morning. I don't think we're supposed to get a lot of snow.
I heard a couple inches, but
yeah, 1 to 2 inches. We'll see. I think the temperatures are the biggest concern for the weekend. They will host Sanford, a really good college baseball program, this weekend. 4:30 on Friday, 4 on Saturday, and 1 o'clock on Sunday. I bet you that those times do not remain and will be changed at some point. So be on the lookout for changes there, and we'll certainly have everything covered as much as we can with whatever the Tennessee baseball weekend looks like this weekend. He's Wes Rucker. I'm Ben McKee.